everyone, I'm Richie and welcome to Helix Cloud Games, and this is SideQuest, the show where we take a step off the critical path and explore more what the video game world has to offer. On this week's show, I'm joined by the host of Sound Stadia podcast and one of the Bagel Boys, Mr. Chris.
Happy birthday, Stadia.
And today we're going to be talking about... I've still got exclusive titles written in the doc, but that's from last year. We're going to be talking about the state of Stadia's second year. Last episode, we're going to be talking about the state of Stadia's second year. First, a quick bit of housekeeping. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon for notifications when all of our great content goes live, such as the Sound Stadia podcast. Every single Monday, we'll bring you the weekly news roundup on YouTube and on podcast services, as well as every Thursday night, or more recently, it's been more of a Friday just to us personal commitments and celebrating Stadia's second year anniversary birthday. We'll live stream, so every week you can expect a live stream. You can join the channel for as little half-eaten bagel for audio listeners. Chris just held up the camera entirely to distract me because he likes to do that. But if you want to support the channel, you can for as little as 9p, where you can get early access to SideQuest, you get access to our custom emojis and Chris's eternal love. If you want to join the conversation any further, or you want to suggest a topic for discussion, you can. We've got a Discord server, the link is in the description below. And make sure you follow us at Helix Cloud Games, at CyberChris2077, at RichieC89, and at DaxisLP on Twitter. So, Chris, we're recording this on Saturday the 20th for context. So, yesterday we had our celebration stream for Stadia's second year anniversary. So, first of all, happy birthday, Stadia.
Happy birthday indeed. 2 years old. Happy to see you growing and evolving into the child that we've looked after and nurtured and shown love to over the last 2 years. Grow into something
So let's
precious.
talk about how a little child's been doing over the last years. Is it been a good one, or is the child a little shit?
Ooh, harsh.
That's a bit harsh.
Yeah, we wanted to do. We did the celebration with everyone in the community. We've done the podcast and stuff, recapped it all. But we wanted to really drill down. You spend a bit of time almost like reviewing Stadia for its second year. So it's 2 year old. It's time to take stock, reflect, look back and see the pros and cons in kind of like a summary episode of how we feel it's went. This is just our impressions, our personal take on it as founders, as players, as content creators for the platform which we know and love. So where do you want to start?
I think let's just start with like the tech and features. We'll just start right at the top, to the base and the platform itself. What are our thoughts there?
Where to start? So, if anything, that has been the consistent throughout Stadia's entire life since the 2 years on market, out to the public, since Project Stream. It works. Like no one, I know there's a few people who usually do, and it's usually down to local Wi-Fi issues and such, but everywhere I've tried it with decent internet, Stadia, for the most part, has ran terrifically. And I'm still impressed that the technology allows me to just boot up an app, click a link, and I'm just playing AAA titles on all sorts of devices that was never possible growing up as a child. It still blows my mind. And I think on the celebration stream, actually, Grace, the community manager, was asking for people's first takes about when they first tried Stadia. And it actually made me think a little bit what my first viewpoint of it was. And I remember I plugged in the Chromecast Ultra into the TV, booted up the app, synchronized the controller to my phone, played Destiny 2, did the first opening mission, and just kind of had this moment where I stepped back from the TV and I was just like, it's all just through the internet. There's no box, there's no console. It's magic almost. And it still is to this day.
My first experience with Stadia was I was round my parents' house because I was cat sitting for them. I got out my mum's old, horrible laptop. It was absolute garbage when she bought it. She doesn't use it anymore. She's upgraded. But in her house it's a pretty decent internet, but it didn't have anything excessive like network setups like a Google Wi-Fi hub or anything. And I sat there, I used her laptop, and I played the opening mission to Destiny 2, and it worked. And I was like, but this laptop is terrible. I kind of really give it a quite hard test to try out. And it's like, and then I plug my Chromecast Ultra in, and it's like, yeah, this is even better. But
works. Yeah, so I think that the tech at its core, fantastic. Does it need improvement? Yes.
Yeah, I'd say so, and it's something we have not gone too much into because this is a shorter show. And I don't want this to run for like 2 hours, which it could easily do with this topic. And we've also discussed it already on the side quest. But I'd say it's about time for them to make that leap to the Gen 2 Stadia. Although I still don't believe there will be an official Gen 2 announcement.
Yeah,
I just don't think that's the way they're working.
But they definitely, we've seen it, just to summarise, we've seen Xbox and xCloud and Xbox Cloud Gaming, whatever its official title is now, that's moved up to Series X server blades. We've seen GeForce Now come out and crank everything up, and we know Luna are going to come out swinging with their global release whenever that happens. So, and again, we've now had a year on the market of 2 brand new next-gen, now current-gen consoles that are pushing the boundaries of ray tracing and load times. So, yes, Stadia cannot stand still. It needs to be iterative. These servers need updating to keep up to speed with the best cutting edge tech on the market.
I think it's worth mentioning Sony as well with PlayStation Now, but they seem to be going a slightly different route where they're using PlayStation Now mainly to focus on bringing PS2, PS3 and PS4 games to the PS5 as just an alternative to like downloading them. So they seem to be using it as a more of a supplementary rather than a pure alternative like everyone else is using it. But it's worth bringing them into the mix because they are working on it. They do offer a cloud service. Certainly.
In terms of other hardware that we've got with tech, it's the same controller we know and love. I'm a big fan of the Stadia controller. I think we both are.
Most comfortable controller on the market.
Wow,
I've said that all along when we did our controller review episode. It's the most comfortable. The trigger's a bit too spongy, a bit too soft, and they activate way too easily. So you rest your fingers on them, and sometimes you get activations.
Yeah, I've done that many times in games.
I've got used to it.
PUBG, when I accidentally shoot a round off, and you're like, someone's firing. It's like, yeah, that was me. I accidentally just too light on the trigger.
A Generation 2 controller, if they just tighten them up a bit, and
more colours,
maybe improve the rumble, more colours, stuff like that could happen. But again,
especially now we've got DualSense on the market as well, and we can kind of see what a controller will be. But DualSense is a great controller, but I think I agree with you there. It's not as comfortable to hold for longer sessions.
I don't think it needs to match the DualSense in its full feature set, because the Xbox One, an Xbox Series X controller currently doesn't. It just needs to maybe tighten up them triggers a bit. I know some people don't like the clickiness of some of the buttons. I personally like them. I like the precision of that click. It's not as good for when you're streaming and you're holding your controller right underneath your microphone, but but
I like it. What else do we got? We got an update to the Chromecast finally. The long-rumoured and finally launched
Sabrina the Teenage Chromecast.
We got it. Google Chromecast with Google TV or whatever it ends up being called. The new Chromecast, obviously, it's out there now. I think you, me, and Tom all have one. I think it's great. It's super snappy. The UI interface, I love how responsive it is. It's much better than just the features on my smart TV. It's a lot better, and obviously Stadia is now integrated into it.
Well,
that's the thing that happened.
You've got a fairly new TV. Mine was an old TV when I bought it like 6-7 years ago. So the smart features aren't great at all. So the smart features on my Chromecast is a massive improvement. My smart features on my TV are that bad. I've basically never used them.
I don't blame you. But we've got that integration. It works really well. Stadia's there. It's promoted on the live panel tiles. And in and amongst that, the tech, obviously they did the big showcase. We got a bunch of new features that have gradually rolled out through the year. More games with State Share. Direct Touch came this year with Humankind. It's rumoured to be coming to, not rumoured, it's confirmed by the devs to be coming 100 days.
Direct Touch, it's something we talked on at the end of the Sound Stadia podcast a bit when we covered Humankind, 100 days. So if you want to know more about Direct Touch, go check out the Sound Stadia podcast from Monday. There's a bit in there at the end. It's at the end of the show, so you're going to have to listen to the full thing.
You can't skip forward, you can't scan. That's
no, you cannot do that. You must listen to the whole thing. It's good content.
But in general, just to kind of summarise the tech and the features, I think they've done a great job. Yes, the features have been a long time coming, but I think we're in a stable place now where the games at their core, they run well, and the ones with features work well.
Yeah, some of the Stadia specific features, I think it's been a bit of a slow, drawn out process considering these were announced at the initial GDC and then kind of cut just before launch. This is one of the things I think Stadia got off to a rocky launch on because they cycled back on a lot of features.
Yeah.
Now they are coming. I think it's more of getting the games to uptake them now, so they can improve that. But it'll happen. And our experience with the features when we've used them has been largely positive.
Yeah, I would agree.
But yeah.
What do you want to move on to?
I think we'll talk about the price because this is another one of Stadia's biggest selling points because it costs nothing to get into the ecosystem.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to talk about. As the price changed, it was £500, now it's £300. Like, no, it was zero, and now it's zero. Yeah,
it's still the same. I think with the pricing, it gets criticised by journalists and people who don't quite understand it for what it is, and it's not a subscription service, but it is a subscription service, and we've tried to
PlayStation
split the
Plus, two. That's it. Stadia Pro is PlayStation Plus. That's what it is.
Yeah, and we've tried to split that many times, and we've seen people, and again, news websites will pick it up incorrectly still, and the general public maybe still don't get it. But at its core, it's a gaming platform where you buy the games you want to play, like you've done for decades now. And if you want some extra stuff, better features, better audio and visuals, there's also a subscription model, which in turn gives you some free games as part of that package every month. And I think right now, the pro games, the library's bigger than it's ever been, if you've been there from the beginning. So like, if you are reaching a 2-year anniversary, I think you've claimed over 91 plus games at this point.
Yeah.
And I've not got any real problems with the pro games. We've had some bad ones, we've had some average ones.
It's 112 according to in lead since launch.
All right, over 100 pro games then, terrific stuff. But looking at it as a catchment, we've had some, like I said, average games, we've had some indie games, but we've had some bangers in there as well, like Jedi Fallen Order and stuff. We just got Dirt 5, which only came out this year. We got Resident Evil 7, which was awesome.
There's games I would never have touched that I've spent a lot of time playing this year. Like East 8, that was for me, that was a pro game. I wouldn't have touched that if it wasn't, and I really enjoyed my time with that game.
Yeah. So pro games, I think consistent, I'd say.
Yeah, it's been ups and downs. It can be better. Sometimes when you compare it against PlayStation Plus, if PlayStation Plus has a particularly solid month, it kind of...
Yeah, it's all just subjective, I guess, isn't it? Like you could have two people, and one month could be mind blowing to them, and the other person could just be like, "Well, nothing here appeals to me." But that's like Dirt 5 probably doesn't appeal to a lot of people. Sports games, we got golf one month, right? We got PGA Tour. That doesn't do anything for me. Yeah, it arguably is a AAA sports title, so. The values, I guess, in subjectivity.
It is when it comes to games. I personally think, though, some of the stuff like the 5.1 surround and 4K needs to be moved out of the the Stadia Pro subscription now.
Especially
and they need to find another way to add more value. Either drop the price of that Pro subscription, or I'd find another way to add value to it.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things I think can upset a lot of people when you buy a game that's got 4K HDR ray tracing, and Stadia doesn't have ray tracing yet, but if it's 4K HDR, but then you can't get 4K because without paying for the subscription.
But
you've got the game already.
Yeah, it's that thing to actually to loop back to the tech features again. It's the devs and supporting it, and how many games have we had recently where it doesn't have 60 or 4K or ray tracing, and yet people are paying for that. So then at the end of the day, are people just paying for the pro subscription and maybe those features on maybe one or two titles? So that's on Stadia and the devs to negotiate the implementation. And some get patched, but is it too little too late at that point?
It's amazing when we talk about this. I think this is going to come up a lot in the show where I make reference to a previous side quest, because we did talk about quality control after Arc came out, and we Reddit and Gem found that by using console commands, you can vastly improve the performance and appearance of that game. So then you're left with just saying this was a bad port, implemented poorly. Where's the quality control from Stadia? So they don't help themselves by saying 4K 60. But it's an up to, and that's what I think they need to stress.
Yeah.
For me, they should always have the minimum requirement of 1080p 30. And if you don't hit that, if 1080p 30 stable, you don't launch. I think that's where the platform holder needs to be. And I'd say the same for Sony and Microsoft.
Just like an industry standard.
If Stadia really want to push themselves into the next level tier of gaming to get up there with the Microsofts, the Sonys and Nintendos, I'd almost say, you know what, if your AAA title launching on this platform, it must be 4K 60. The hardware is good enough to do it. You need to implement it. It's going to be harder to get developers on board. It's probably going to cost them more money, but it'll help a lot in reputation. If every single game was running 4K 60 without the need of expensive hardware, that's kind of the dream of Stadia.
Yeah, there's definitely some communication.
It's something that's not currently not living up to its expectation there.
Definitely, but you mentioned it there in the devs, and I think we should get into the juicier part of this conversation, which is the games.
The games,
because that's what we're all here for. We're all gamers. We're not Xboxers. We're not PlayStationers. We're gamers. We play games, video games, ladies and gentlemen.
Play wherever you're the happiest.
Exactly, indeed. And it's an interesting one actually, because when we put this in the doc, my immediate response was probably like, they've had a bad year for games in terms of releases. But then actually, when you start listing the titles, I think the blinkers are on a little bit with video games. I think you forget how a lot of the hype in the industry comes from titles that... Exclusive, one. So once you take exclusive out of it, there's nothing that can be done there. There's no chance in hell we're getting Uncharted, Last of Us 2, Ghost of Tsushima... Forza, Halo Infinite, like that's not going to happen. Super Mario ain't going to show up on Stadia.
So for context, the list of games we've got in front of us, I pulled together from Metacritic's top 200 games list of this year, and I just excluded games I didn't think were that noteworthy. A lot of them I hadn't even heard of, or first party exclusive titles.
Yeah.
Or just exclusive titles. So, as you mentioned, Chris, we're not going on this list. We're not looking at a Ghost of Tsushima, because there's no point in talking about that in the Stadia context. So exactly. You're never going to get that game.
But there's just so many titles that actually, when you break it down, like there is obviously, we said this year, we're talking the last year of Stadia, so we're like November-ish onwards.
November to now.
Yeah, and there's no like definitive line. Like we've got on the list Avengers, and I think I've got Avengers on the list. I put that in because it's still in conversation. It's still had a big expansion this year, and it is on all platforms. And although it gets lambasted for being bang average, it's still a AAA title that's everywhere, and Stadia has it. Spider-Man's coming in 10 days' time from the time recording to PlayStation. But I think we'll start to push there. So on Stadia's first birthday, 1 year ago, almost to the day, Cyberpunk launched.
Yes, and this is, I think sometimes this can be an interesting... I think this bit of the conversation is going to be interesting to show how our perception of Stadia has changed, because this time last year, Stadia were on a massive high. Cyberpunk launched in an absolute shambolic launch. It was delayed and delayed and delayed. It had probably the most delays of any game ever. And then when it came out, on half the platforms, it came out and it was unplayable. It was only really working well at the time of launch on high-end PCs, Stadia, and for those who could manage to get their hands on a PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X, which was very difficult this time last year because
it launched.
It
launched on the 19th of November,
and it's still hard to get your hands on them consoles. In parts of the world. So Stadia was arguably the best place to play Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
I'd say top-end PC is always going to be any console. Just you can just put a better graphics card in there, better RAM, better CPU. So any limitations that you would have on a console, you can just bypass with a bigger credit card, basically, with PC, in effect.
And then that's kind of where the conversation starts, because you're totally right. Yeah, this high of Cyberpunk, and people got the premiere editions and tried it out. And then if we look at the list from there, as we delve into at the end of 2020 into this year, Cyberpunk was then followed with Dirt 5 in March. Yeah, albeit a bit late. We still got it quite soon. Pro game this month, still claim it. Then we got Outriders, albeit again with its problems with crossplay and patches.
Yes,
which actually, sorry, I've done that in the wrong order. Yeah. We got Hitman 3 in January. That kickstarted the year off. That's a AAA title. That's very well revered. I think it's missed out on a lot of Game of the Year conversation because it came out so early in the year, in fact. We got Disco Elysium on the platform. We got Resident Evil Village in the summer to follow off the freebie of Resident Evil 7. We've been met with FIFA 22, which a lot of people didn't think was going to come. We got that. We
kind of knew FIFA 22 was going to come because of the whole EA 5 game deal thing, but we had no idea it was going to come day and date, which was a nice surprise because FIFA 21 wasn't.
Yeah, we got Madden 22. We have got obviously Ubisoft supporting the title completely. We got Riders Republic most recently. We've had Far Cry 6 more recently. Going back, rewinding the clock as well. Valhalla only came out about this time around Cyberpunk.
It was around about the same time. I haven't checked up the dates, but we're including it because it's effectively a this year title because of how close it was to the launch.
Yeah, and just to round out that list, Life is Strange True Colours, which we've played. The full stream's available on the channel. We had a great time with it. And Humankind. And then kind of like, when you take that list and think throughout the course of the year when everyone goes, oh, I'm going back to my Xbox, I'm going PlayStation, I play... It's very much for the exclusive games rather than the big tentpole AAA, because if you take out Battlefield 2042, which is a shame, Guardians of the Galaxy from Square Enix, which I'm gutted that we didn't get on Stadia because I really thought it was a shoe-in, indie title Hades, the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which has been a lot of my summer, was taken up with that collection, which again, EA, shame. Tony Hawk's 1 and 2 for you, Richie. It Takes Two, EA indie game, up for Game of the Year. No surprise there.
Tales of Arise, which is a game I'm interested in playing, and it's very well being very well received.
Yeah.
But that's a shame, that one for Stadia, because Stadia did have a bit of a push for JRPGs.
Mm-hmm.
That could have been a really good one.
But in summary, for the list of games like Avengers, Cyberpunk, Outriders, Hitman, Resident Evil, FIFA, Riders Republic, Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, Life is Strange, that's a shit ton of AAA titles that you can play on Stadia. And the list of games that we don't have is actually very small by comparison. And it's interesting how you still get that mantra of there's no games available, they're missing games. And it's actually, when you put it side by side on paper, I actually think they've had a terrific year for big AAA third-party titles.
I think it has been coloured this year a lot because one of the biggest things in Stadia is the library still feels overall lacklustre compared to other platforms.
Mm-hmm.
But 2021's been a barren year for games, to be perfectly honest. There's been some standouts, but nothing really to the level we've seen in some previous years. I think 2022 was starting to affect it, but we kind of predicted this. Because last year COVID really hit. But then we're seeing the lag phase of like the games getting done. 2021 has been the year of game delays.
Yeah. It's still happening. Saints Row just this week got delayed by pushed back another 6 months. So yeah.
To back up your point, Chris, I've pulled up the Game of the Year nominees from the Game Awards, excluding the exclusives. So the exclusives are Deathloop, Metroid Dread, and Ratchet and Clank.
Mm-hmm.
The other titles are It Takes Two, Psychonauts, and Resident Evil Village.
Psychonauts is Xbox exclusive.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right. So It Takes Two and Resident Evil Village. So it's got half of them. And yeah, it's possible that they could get It Takes Two in the future. But yeah, I have mixed feelings about the games this year. When we put it in this context, it's maybe we've been a bit too hard on it. But I think overall the library 2 years in isn't quite as fleshed out as it could be. But in the years, we should mention actually there is still some big missing titles that are ongoing massive behemoths in the industry, like Fortnite, Warzone, Apex Legends. There's missing repeat entries like Formula 1, NBA 2K22. That there is titles on the platform, but the most recent isn't.
Yeah.
That really doesn't help.
Yeah, that pulls the rug out from under them more than anything. I just want to say Psychonauts 2 is on PlayStation, sorry. It's published by Microsoft, and they bought Double Fine, so I think in my mind I just presumed it was exclusive. I've not heard anything PlayStation side of it, so... But yeah, you're totally right. Yeah, not having sequential sports titles, annualized franchises not coming is an odd one, because then your player base you're building up with one iteration of the game is then waiting for the next one, and when it's not there, where are they going to go for their fix of this particular sport? They're going to go elsewhere. If we don't have Formula 1, if we don't have NBA, those basketball, golf fans and stuff are just going to regress.
I think we're kind of in agreement here. I think, to sum up this section, I think 2021 Barrett is going to be one of probably the most forgettable years in gaming. I really don't think it's come. We're kind of at the start of the new generation, but COVID's hit there, so the new generation titles aren't really coming yet. It's at the end of the last generation, so all the big titles from the last generation, like the Gods of Wars, Horizon Zero Dawns, have already happened. So it's we're in that lull that's been made bigger and worse because of COVID. And it's just unfortunate Stadia's library isn't as fleshed out as we would have liked, and then there's a few misses. So I think it's been a better year than we thought before we researched this topic.
Yeah, definitely. Like putting it all down on paper.
But I still think it's not been a great year.
Well, that kind of probably brings us on to one of our final talking points is the communication. And looking ahead from the games of 2021 to 2022, if you thought 2021 was a bit barren for games, Richie, we've had, I think, next to nothing confirmed for next year for this platform, which is the worrying part.
Which also falls back into the perception of the library that we've got this year. Because we don't hear anything. All the big gaming events, E3, Summer Games Fest, absentee. We're lucky. We feel we count ourselves. It's been kind of we count ourselves lucky if we see a Stadia logo on a Ubisoft event, and it's almost a given that every single Ubisoft game is coming to Stadia.
So to round, like, moving on from that, communication. What is there more to say about communication that we've not lambasted them for on episodes of the podcast and SideQuest before? It's been shit. It's been shit. From a massive global corporation owned by Google that's worth billions and billions, to literally do blog posts and not show up at any industry-wide gaming events. E3? No. Summer Game Fest? No. Game Awards? No. Oh, it's okay, we'll do our own Connects? No. What about events with influencers? It's December 3rd was the last event we had where they got influencers in to play games. It was Shavy Woods and someone else. It was December. It was this time last year.
Grace did do her... I don't want people... By the way, don't target individuals, this stuff. As negative as it can be with the communication, I truly believe everyone at Stadia is trying to do the best of their ability. I think for me, this is a upper level management decisions need to be made. So I don't want anyone targeting like Chris or Grace or any of the other community people or any of the other public facing people.
Oh, certainly.
It's not their responsibility to announce games.
Yeah, they do their job within the realms of what their job and their business allows them. But in terms of, just like a corporate entity that is public facing and is trying to grow a business and grow a market share, not speaking publicly, not being at public events, not promotion. They've done no marketing and promotion outside of a couple of YouTube ads or Twitter posts. And from someone as large as Google, who has all the analytics they could wish for, it's embarrassing, quite frankly.
You have YouTube. Like, you could use YouTube if you want to go. If you don't want to go the traditional route, you could go a more modern route with using things like YouTube, like Twitter. Getting in front of people like IGN and Kotaku. Some of the more negative things. Getting their hands on the thing, and getting them playing. Going, you know what? It's not as bad as you're making out. It's that sort of stuff. They haven't addressed the narrative that's been surrounding it. And every single press conference of any, whether it's a small one like a Coach Media or a massive E3 presentation, every single time you miss it, you just feed that narrative.
Yeah. And
like every game, every big AAA game that doesn't have your logo next to the Sony and Microsoft logos, you're just feeding that narrative, especially when the game comes out.
Yeah, it totally does. And then it goes back to, if you're not at these events because you've got no exclusives, because remember, like, we have to mention it, they shuttered the first party game studios in February this year. That was a thing that happened this year, so we can't step over that. Yeah. So the only time we've seen Phil Harrison in 2021, the entire year almost, has been his statement that said we're closing our studios. That's it. He's not on Twitter. He's not active. He's not. He's going to be at the Game Awards in some capacity. He's like the panel for voting.
But that might not mean his physical presence.
Yeah, but think about how much we've heard from Phil Spencer and Doug Bowser and even Jack Ryan, who's not a gamer. He comes out and makes statements recently about Activision and stuff going on over there. He's verbal in the gaming community, in the landscape. But you're totally right, Richie. If you're not going to be at these events because you've got nothing to show, your brand, your logo needs to be represented on a visual level. You can't just let Ubisoft fly the flag for you. It's just not good enough.
I think it's Stadia for the next year going into year 3 need to get in control of this narrative, and it needs to be a case of, I've said before, by now they should be hitting up most of the major AAA games, apart from exclusive. So Guardians of the Galaxy I think is inexcusable. Battlefield, I get Battlefield if EA are not doing crossplay. Stadia needs crossplay for multiplayer to work at the moment. Mass Effect kind of inexcusable. These sort of titles next year, they need to be hitting them all, and when they're announced, your logo needs to be there. And it needs to be, it's up to the publishers. No, it needs to be you. It's your platform. The Ubisoft aren't going to sell your platform. EA aren't going to sell your platform. You have to do it, which means you need to go to them and go, if you launch this game, it's coming to our platform. Our logo needs to be there with everyone else's.
Yeah, you need that. That parity.
Because then when people write up at E3, all the game announcements, what platforms is this game coming to? It's coming to PS5, it's coming to Xbox Series X, it's coming to Switch, it's coming to Stadia, it's coming to Luna. If your logo's not there, your name's missing.
Yeah. And people talk like, again, it's so easy to sound it's not so much, it's like that thing where I'm not upset, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. Because we said when Stadia launched that you had the advantage on, like, people are changing consoles, people looking to switch from Xbox, switch to PlayStation, get a second complementary console, and then lockdowns happened, and we know that's impacted them quite a lot. But it's inexcusable that you haven't marketed your own brand, your own business to the masses.
It feels like with the chip, they haven't made use of the global chip shortage, and the fact that people are struggling to get new GPUs for the PCs, they're struggling to get PS5s, they're struggling to get Xbox Series X's. They haven't. I think there's been an opportunity there that they haven't truly taken. I think GeForce Now has, to a lot bigger extent. Yeah,
but so we know we're getting the Ubisoft ones, but I just really wish that as we head into 2022, whatever the business decides to do, they need a turning point in terms of marketing, and they need to really get a foothold on saying, like, we want to bring all the biggest games to our platform. It's all well and good if we get, like, collection games next year. We know we're getting, like, remastered, like Life is Strange remastered is still due out in January, February. But we need, whatever games are announced at the Game Awards, you need to have your logo on there to kickstart 2022 and say, that over the next 12 months, what will I be playing on Stadia? Will we be in this situation saying, is FIFA 23 coming next year? Who knows? Will Jedi Fallen Order 2 be coming? Who knows? What about Ubisoft? Prince of Persia, that doesn't have a logo on it, yet they support the platform. Who knows? We said it before, Saints Row, like all these little titles. GTA Remastered, that was well rumoured to be coming to Stadia. Yeah. It hasn't, and it's like...
GTA 5's been rumoured for a while as well.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like... I want to go into next year optimistic that I have a reason to play this platform, because I tell you what's certain, Richie, I'll be playing God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn next year.
Yeah.
And if I wanted to play FIFA, I can do that on my PS5. I have no doubt Elden Ring, all of these type of things that are going to come out.
I said to you off camera, when I looked through the sale list, I realised something. There wasn't a single game on the platform for Stadia that I was interested in buying. I'm not even including outside the sale. There's just, at the moment, at the time of recording, I don't want to buy anything on Stadia. There's nothing I want to buy. I already own every game on the platform that I'm interested in.
Yeah. And
I can't say that about any other platform. Mm-hmm. And so it was a weird realisation.
And
I don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
So I'm in this limbo. It's like, there's nothing I want to buy, and I don't know what you got in the pipeline. So
yeah. And again, us two individuals, we're clued in with this. We scour the internet for Stadia news. We are not your average Joe on the street who's just a casual gamer or they don't pay too much attention. Yeah. That's the market they should be targeting, but they need to do that with marketing.
I want to sum this up a bit. I think, put Game Awards aside, Game Awards is far, in my mind, settled. Whatever's happening at Game Awards is probably already dealt with.
Oh, yeah.
You can make a last minute play to get involved if you're not, or change things around. But in my mind, Jeff Keighley, he runs a tight ship. That's probably already pretty much solidified. They're probably doing rehearsals and stuff already.
Kojima will be there.
Yeah, but by E3 next year, so you've got another 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have changed the narrative around your communication issues.
Yeah. Where did the Kinects go?
That's what you need to do. So you need to come out early next year, probably with something like a Kinect, with the roadmap of tell us what's coming, tell us, go, yep, this is what we're doing in the first half of the year, find out more at E3.
Yeah. Tell us about new partnerships. Like, say you've been working over the last 2 years really hard. You've got some great budding partnerships now.
We've renewed partnerships with Ubisoft, with E3, and talks with Activision.
Yeah, EA. We've got some great indie titles in the pipeline. Yeah. We're going to be digging back and expand the library even more. Like, teasers with like BioShock Collection or Arkham Collection. Like, we know Arkham Knight runs on Stadia Tech.
Yeah,
it's literally just a different skin. So, we're bringing you Batman. And then again, it's like the Gotham Knights and stuff, the Harry Potter game. We just don't know. It's just everything's up in the air. Whereas if I look at my PlayStation in the other room, I know it's coming to that. Don't have to worry about that guy over there. But again, what more can we say? But it's such an odd one when you get into communication because it's really easy to get bitter about it.
I think it's a very negative area of the Stadia verse at the moment, and there's very few positives to pull out. That's why it gets quite heated a bit, because like you're looking for the positive elements of the communication, and apart from the interactions we've had with some of the people who work at Stadia, who've always been fantastic with us.
Yeah.
From Stadia as a brand, it's empty.
Yeah. But then the reality is, Richie, is it your fault? No. That it's not that the communication. Is it mine? No. Is it Tom's? Is it the rest of the community? The passionate community? No.
You can make an argument that our expectations are maybe higher than what they wish they were, and we're blowing things out of proportion, stuff like that. But I don't think we are.
This is Google.
At the end of the day, I'm talking not as a podcaster right now. I'm talking as a consumer.
Yeah, and as a fan
invested in your platform.
Yeah.
I'm one of your stakeholders. Like since day one, I'm one of your stakeholders. I just want you to talk, not directly to me, but to the Stadians in total. Yeah.
And again, it comes from, we should reiterate again as we wrap up the show, it comes from a place of like love. Like we adore the technology. We want it to succeed, but when I look and just think you've got a bank balance bigger than most companies on the planet, the entire planet, you've got more money than most countries. Yeah. And yet you can't pull together a marketing campaign or a promotion that's really going to get your platform to the masses. It's
not just the money as well. It's everything Google is. The data analysis, they've got all that available to them.
The accessibility and the know-how. It's just, it should be a match made in heaven. And there's not quite got into gear yet. And I hope next year they do that. I really, really do.
Let's end on a positive note. We did see an expansion of Stadia into new countries: Austria, Czechia, Hungary, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Slovakia, and Switzerland. Let's add some more countries. Let's see India. Let's see Brazil. Let's see Australia. I think they're the three biggest territories to hit.
I want to see Japan. Just cause
Japan would be awesome. Korea would be awesome. I think they're harder markets to break into, though. Microsoft struggle in their markets, and Microsoft have got a bit stronger legacy than Google at the moment.
xCloud's in Japan now,
but it's possible. Like,
flick a switch.
It is possible that the fact that you're not a Microsoft, so you don't really have their baggage, but you have Google baggage. I don't know. Them three I would focus on, because we've seen so many people from India, so many people from
Latin America,
Brazil, from Latin America in general, Brazil in particular. I've seen a lot of asking for it.
Yeah. So, Richie, just to round up then, because I know we've been going for this side quest. If you were to grade Stadia, I don't want to give it a thing. Do you give it like an A+, B+, C? I know we don't rate it like that in the UK. It's more of an American thing. But where would you say this year's been?
I'm going to be harsh. I'm going with a C-. You remove the communication issues and it's a C+. Okay. Or potentially even into the Bs.
I'm going to say a solid C.
Yeah.
For Chris.
I really think the communication issues and the fact that I'm currently in the state of not wanting to buy anything on the platform that's currently on the platform and not knowing what's coming is it's hard for me to grade anything above a C.
Interesting. Okay, C for me. I guess people should let us know in the comments below as well what they think. We'd love to hear your take on a Stadia in review for the last year. What do you think the future holds?
So it's a passing grade.
Mm-hmm.
Just.
Yeah. Is C a pass?
Yeah, it's a pass.
I don't know. We mark in numbers, right? Scores? I don't know. It's been a long time since we've done exams.
Yeah. We're 40 minutes into a half-hour show, so let's just wrap things up. So that's all we have time for
bonus
this week.
Content.
Yeah, you got bonus content because I knew this one was going to be a longer episode anyway.
Yeah, it has to be.
That's why we try and move through at a fairly swift pace. But that's all we have time for this week. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon for notifications when all of our great content go live, such as Sound Stadia podcast, such as our Thursday night live streams, such as our first looks. If you have a topic you want us to discuss going forward, hit us up in our Discord server. The link is in the description down below. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Helix Cloud Games, at AdAccessLP, at CyberChris2077, and at RichieC89. And with that, I've been Richie.
I've been Chris.
Thank you very much for watching. Quest completed.